All right, now on to Sarah. So I'm so thrilled to introduce Sarah Ulsher today. We love Sarah at Bright Spot Network. She's actually written two of our most popular books for Bright Reads, Cancer Party and Someone I Love Has Cancer. Sarah is a mom and breast cancer survivor. She understands how to meet kids where they're at and empower them through life's challenges. Sarah is the founder of Mighty and Bright and the Resilience Campaign. So with that, I will throw it over to you, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Carissa. I'm really happy to be here. I'm so glad that Bright Spot is here because it would have been fabulous to have you when I was going through treatment. And I think everybody is very lucky to have you because this is not an easy time, and all the support any of us can get is awesome. So today I want to talk a little bit about helping your kids cope with cancer. And it's a very difficult time for parents. Speaking as I'm a 5-year survivor now, that was the hardest part of my treatment, was worrying about my daughter, worrying about whether or not she was able to talk about what was going on, understand what was going on, and, whether there were things that were happening inside of her mind that were going to traumatize her for the rest of her life. These were the worries that were going through my head at the time. And I started getting involved in the community because I was reaching out, or I was trying to find books, and I didn't find any that I liked that would explain cancer from a scientific point of view. I've been running my business, Mighty and Bright, since my daughter was 2. And I started with a co-parenting calendar to explain divorce to kids. And I worked with therapists in order to create this. And as a result, learned a lot about child development and the way that kids learn and how smart they are. And that so many resources kind of talk down to kids and don't really treat them like the little humans that they are. And so I really wanted to create resources that would help parents truly help their kids cope. So here's a little bit about me. I have a background in psychology. This is me and my daughter. I'm a children's author illustrator. I've written and illustrated 9 books for kids. And my business, Mighty and Bright, is all about helping parents and kids develop positive mental health skills. And I do that primarily using tools like card decks and visual structure and books. And finally, I am a parent who's been where you are, so I really do get it. So the 3 promises I always make to every parent. Number 1, I am not going to make your life harder, because even if you don't have cancer, parenting is really difficult. But when you have cancer, it's like a whole other level, and it takes survival mode that many parents are already living in and just like makes it way worse. So I am not going to give you any ideas that are going to make your life harder. Second thing, building on the easy part, I am going to teach you how to bring out your awesome parenting skills easily, because you are already doing an awesome job. And one thing that I want to say, I was discussing this with a friend last night. She is also a cancer survivor. And I just want to remind you that there's a lot of guilt that comes along with a cancer diagnosis, at least for me and the other parents that I've talked to. And just a reminder that this is not something that you are doing to your family. This is something that cancer is doing to all of you. And so if you are feeling guilty or feeling like you aren't showing up for your kids the way that you want to, just know, like, you are doing the best that you can. You are being an awesome role model for your kids. They are seeing, yes, it sucks that they are seeing like one of life's hardest things at such a young age, but you are also there right now to hold their hand through this. And as much as we would like to put our kids in a protective bubble and not have them experience anything hard, life is hard, and it is better for them to see you being resilient and teaching them skills of resilience while you're there to hold their hand, rather than keeping them in a protective bubble and then they go out into the world and don't know how to cope. So you're doing a great job, and it's okay, and they are going to be okay. The third promise is I'm not going to tell you to do anything unless I know it works. Everything that I do is based on research and science, and it's totally solid. So research shows that there are just a few things that kids really need in order to cope. The first is a present and loving grown-up. And if you are here, you are already kicking this one. Well done. They just need a secure and reliable home base, somebody that loves them, who cares for them. They just need to know that they are loved. The second is open and honest communication. We talk a lot about being age appropriate and telling kids age appropriate things. That doesn't necessarily, make a lot of sense sometimes. It's kind of vague. And last week's webinar, if you missed it, about talking to kids about cancer, she did an excellent job explaining, how you can talk to your kids about cancer and explain it to them. Books are a fabulous way to do that. That's why I created them, because when kids can see, the same explanation over and over and over again in the same way, that really helps them to absorb the information and really understand it. So it's important for us as adults to be honest with our kids, because they are going to make up stories about what is going on if we don't give them the truth. And then they're just going to think a topic is taboo and that they're not able to talk about it with you because you aren't being open about it. So that's why that one's so important. And the third is structure and knowing what to expect every day. This is one of the most powerful things that I learned when my daughter was really struggling with anxiety as a toddler. I had no idea what a game changer having structured routines is, until I started meeting with therapists and really learning about the research behind this, and the number of families that have been just kind of flabbergasted by how something so simple can really transform things is, it's like hundreds of families that I've worked with. So it's pretty awesome. So if you think about it, the way that our brains work, when we are stressed, we want to get organized, and we make lists and we rely on the calendars on our phones to when all of our appointments are. And kids aren't able to do that. They don't have the phone. They don't have the ability with their developing brains to be able to do that. And so it's up to us to basically show them how that works and to create something so that they can get organized themselves and release some of that stress that's going on in their brains. So here's a little bit more about how to be a present and loving grown-up, even when you are exhausted from chemo or radiation or surgery. The first thing is to validate their feelings. This basically can just look like saying, yeah, you look like you're having a really hard time, buddy. Like, this is hard. Everything that you are feeling is okay. Even if their explosions are really hard for you to handle, because you are exhausted, it is okay to apologize to them later if you weren't able to show up for them in the way that you maybe would have wanted to originally. So even if you feel like you failed at this originally, they had a complete and total meltdown and you just couldn't cope, this is something that you can do even after a moment has passed. You can go back and you can say, well, I'm really sorry. I wish that I hadn't talked to you that way. I'm really tired and you are really frustrated. You are having a really difficult time. We are all having a hard time and we have each other. And I'm sorry that I said what I said. And I want you to know you can come to me and we're in this together. So just know that even if you didn't validate their feelings in the moment, it is okay. And you can go back and repair that. And actually studies have shown that repairing when you've made a mistake as a parent is actually more powerful than if you had done it right the first time. So know that you are modeling for them vulnerability and you are modeling for them that nobody is perfect, and then they won't put as much pressure on themselves when they're older. So good job. The second is creating a bedtime routine that incorporates connection. And when I talk about, a bedtime routine, I am not saying that you need to spend 45 minutes playing Barbies, because even on a good day without cancer, that is a tall ask. um, one of the best things that I did when I was going through treatment was I created cuddle time, which was basically 10 minutes. And I took a visual timer like this one, and this is by Time Timer. You can find them on Amazon. So it's pretty expensive, but they have knockoffs. Basically, the way that this works is you can actually show the amount of time that as it is ticking down. And so kids can see that time is shrinking, and that makes it a lot easier for them to prepare for cuddle time to be over. But basically, you're creating 10 minutes where you just relax together. You can read a book, you can do an activity of their choosing, but it gives them that opportunity to connect with you for a short period of time, and it will allow you to connect with them and give them an opportunity to basically share any emotions that they're feeling and just feel connected to you. Third thing is to ask for help. And this, as a single mom, this is one of the hardest things for me during my treatment, was to ask for help. I was used to doing literally everything by myself. But it's really important, not only for you, but for your kids as well, because you're basically increasing their circle of loving grownups. And it's important for you to be able to have that time to heal, but also it is a gift to your kids to show them that there are more than just you who can show up for them, because it helps them to trust more people. So open and honest communication. We talked a little bit about this already, about how we need to talk to kids because they know that you're hiding something, and it is scarier than the truth probably is. So talking to them is really important. Making sure that you let them express their feelings without fear of you getting mad at them. Our kids often try to protect us from things, even at a young age. So straight up calling that out and saying things to them like, I want you not to worry about hurting my feelings or making me scared. It's okay to share that you are frustrated. It is okay to be happy. It is okay to have all of the feelings. I am not going to be upset. And the third we already talked about is apologizing when you make mistakes, because that is incredibly important for them to see modeled. And now let's get to the routines part of this. Showing kids what to expect every day is so powerful. So the first is to stick to a routine, and that basically means morning and evening routines. It shows kids that every day begins and ends the same, no matter what is going on in life, where they are, where you are. They still have the same morning routine. They still have the same evening routine. Every day begins with and ends with sleep. Creating or buying a visual calendar or a routine chart, ideally. Kids learn visually, and it's really important for them to see their routine displayed for them, because it's a constant reminder of the safety that that structure gives them. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And third, giving them something to look forward to. So by having a visual weekly calendar, you can schedule out things that you can do together, whether it's something like taking a walk together or something even quieter you can do from the couch. Giving them things to look forward to is really important. So the easiest way to help your kids cope with cancer is visual structure. And these are the magnetic charts that I've created through Mighty and Bright. You do not need to use these. It is incredibly simple to make something like this yourself. They're really, you don't need to make it pretty. It can be made of construction paper. It's just important to do it. So the benefits of visual structure. First, it provides comfort. It serves as a visual reminder that their world is safe and predictable. And by having it on the wall, it is a reminder that you are open to talking to them about whatever is going on. And it gives them an opportunity to realize that there were questions that maybe they didn't think about initially when you first had the conversation. And it's a reminder that they can come to you later. And then, as we discussed, it's also really important for helping them organize their thoughts and relieve their worries. So, as I mentioned, this is the visual calendar that I create through Mighty and Bright, but you can create it out of construction paper. You can print off a calendar. You can use your magnetic ones you get at Target. The important thing is that it belongs to your child, because the big giant things that we have for our whole family with the cat's vet appointment and all of your doctor's appointments and the things that they don't actually need to know can actually make them feel more stressed out. So if you create something like this, make it 1 week at a time, 2 weeks at the most, and make it only belong to them. So if you have a doctor's appointment or something that actually does affect them, like they have to go with you, or you might be finding out some big news at the appointment, you can put that on there. But if you're going to a doctor's appointment while they're at school, or you are taking the dog someplace and they don't need to know about it, don't put it on there. Make sure it has their activities, their school days, appointments that they have to go to. And that way they can understand, what their day looks like and what they can look forward to. I also have these magnets that say today on them. And I also have tomorrow and yesterday for kids that are young and don't understand the concept of time. And that helps them to understand basically when something is happening. So the one that I created has room for all of their stuff, but also all of yours. So days when you know that you're probably going to be tired, like a couple days after chemo, helping them to prepare for something like that makes them feel like they have a little bit more control over their lives. Then hospitals days. So if you are going to the hospital and you're not going to be home, so that they understand the days that you are going to be home is really helpful. A lot of kids will start to feel stressed out that they're going to be forgotten, especially if a lot of people are helping with things that you used to do by yourself. Like there's multiple people that are doing school drop-offs and pickups, for example. Things like that should go on the calendar so that they aren't having any anxiety about being left behind. There is a plan, kids, and this is what it is. We also included some low-key activities. Like I was mentioning, it's important for them to have things to look forward to, especially if they're feeling a little bit disconnected from you. So having some low-key activities like a movie night, or planning to spend some time coloring together, listening to music, doing nails, playing a board game, those kinds of things can be really helpful. Routine charts, basically this is just a visual reminder of the things that they are doing in the morning and the evening. Older kids can use basically just like a to-do list, but for younger kids, having visual reminders of the things that they need to do or the things that they can look forward to, like I have special time on here. These are, it makes kids feel empowered in their day-to-day so that they can know what to expect each day. And again, it helps them understand that no matter what, every day begins and ends the same, which helps them to handle changes. A lot of parents worry that their kids are feeling really like rigid, especially during times of stress, like a cancer diagnosis. Kids can get like really rigid. And when something small changes, they just like absolutely lose it. And so I've had parents that are asking me, I don't really want to do this because my kid is already crazy rigid. And I'm worried that if I give them something like this, they are going to flip a lid and say, no, I'm not going to do that. It wasn't on the chart. It wasn't on the calendar, but it actually gives them the sense of control that they are looking for with that rigidity. Like generally speaking, kids are getting really rigid when they feel out of control. And these sorts of things are are giving them a sense of control. And so it really like calms them down so that they don't need to be so rigid. So one thing that maybe is counterintuitive, but it really can help. As I mentioned, I have been there, so I know this is really just such a hard time. And I want you to know it does get easier. The longer that you're going through this, your kids kind of get into a rhythm, and it can feel like it's going on forever. It can be helpful to count things down. One thing that I did during my treatment was I created a pie chart on a dry erase board for the number of chemo that I went through, chemo treatments. So I had 6 different treatments, and every time I would have a treatment, I would fill in a bubble on the pie chart, and that made it obvious, not just for my daughter, but also for me, because it did feel like it was going on forever. We are in fact making progress. This will at some point end. And another great one that I heard was for radiation, that prior to radiation, the kids and the parents would collect rocks, and then they would make kindness rocks out of those. Those are where you take the little acrylic pens and you draw on the rocks, and they would collect as many rocks as they had radiation treatments. So I had 25. You collect and create 25 of these rocks. I had radiation post chemo, so you can do the kindness rocks as an activity to, connect during chemo. And then with each day that you are going through radiation, you leave the kindness rock somewhere. And so you are physically feeling the weight of whatever is holding those rocks getting lighter. And it helps kids understand, again, you're making progress, but it's also just kind of a beautiful way to take something that's really difficult and make it feel a little bit more beautiful. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. I hope I covered everything, but any questions you have, you can also reach out to me via email, and I'm happy to answer any questions later if you think of them.
Thank you, Sarah. Man, every time I hear you speak, I learn more and more. And I will agree and sort of back up everything Sarah said about the power of routines and schedules and calendars. That families that I've worked with have said basically all the same thing, Sarah, that they really are a relatively simple tool that have a huge payoff for everyone, and they're so empowering for kids. So yeah, thank you for that. And I love that rock ritual. That's really
beautiful.
I love that. I think I might borrow that and use that with families. That was really cool.
Yeah, the other things that I did post-treatment was I gave my daughter a necklace after I finished treatment, because I wanted her to remember that she could do hard things. And I wrote her a letter that I then, saved for later. She was 6.5 when I finished treatment. And I just wanted her to remember that she could do difficult things. So I gave her a hummingbird necklace, and now she wears it for good luck when she has something scary that she has to do.
I love that. I think sometimes those gestures, and they don't even have to be big, right? It could be like a rock, like you said, you don't have to buy anything, but they create such peak moments for our kids. And I think they're so incredibly meaningful, and they're nice touching points between us and our kids. So another good idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to invite folks, if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to type it into the chat or into the Q&A. Or like Sarah said, you're also welcome to reach out to her if you had any questions. Oh, I do have a question here. Thinking, yes. I'm so glad that this person said the Cancer Party book has been so helpful to them and their 3-year-old and 5-year-old. I agree. I think the Cancer Party book and the Someone I Love Has Cancer, they're so popular. They're very in high demand in our list of books. And I know that people really love them. And like you said, they're based on science, and it's good information. And it also, I think I've read every book out there for kids about cancer. And sometimes they're either too heavy on the motions or too heavy on the science. And you did a really good job pairing the two. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you, Beth. I appreciate that. I think one of the differences between Cancer Party and what happens when someone I love has cancer is trying to take some of that structure and putting it into Someone I Love Has Cancer, because Cancer Party, I basically wrote during my treatment. That was how I kept myself entertained. And then I just wanted to give kids an added resource, if they wanted to know how it's going to affect their day to day. How do you know when you are going through for over 2 years and you don't know when you'll end? Yes, that is a really excellent question. I'm actually in the process of writing another book about your question specifically, which is, if treatment isn't going to end, what does that look like? And I actually updated what happens when someone I love has cancer to a second edition to include something like this. Basically, the way that you can explain this to your kids is that some people have cancer for the rest of their lives, and that you will always let them know if anything changes, but that you basically just will be taking medicine for the rest of your life, and that if anything changes, you will let them know. And then if they have any questions, they can ask them at any point, and you are happy to answer them. Basically, if kids just know that they are going to be included in important conversations, that they are going to understand, and you're not going to hide anything from them, that's basically the best way to handle something like that. But honestly, whether you're going through cancer or not, visual structure is so important for every kid to learn to cope with change. I've created versions of the calendar for divorce, for a child with cancer, an adult with cancer, a child who has a sibling with cancer, foster children. But what remains the most popular is just the everyday calendar, because literally every kid benefits from knowing what is going on in their own lives. It is a basic human need to understand that. So just keep up with structure.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really excited to hear that you're writing a book about that. I would say that's one of the most frequent questions we get at Bright Spot, because especially regarding books, because a lot of books are about, it's usually mom had cancer, she went through treatment, she's all better. And for many people, their cancer will persist and they'll have, treatments for a long time. So I think that's a really important issue to discuss.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Laura. Oh yeah, the special time cards. These are a card deck that you can use to basically initiate playtime with your kids that isn't going to drive you insane. So they're color-coded cards with ideas of things that you can do together. And I'm, of course, showing the wrong direction. But they're color-coded, so whatever you are physically capable of doing at the time, you can offer only those cards to your kids. So blue is chill. So it has ideas of like coloring together, read a book, play cards, and you offer your kids the ones that you are able to cope with at that time. And then you can do that for 15 minutes with them. And it also is really great just if you are ADHD or get bored easily, because you can have your kids choose a different card when you are tired of doing it. And there's also blank ones where you can fill in your own ideas. I found during treatment that it's really easy to get overwhelmed with the number of things to do, especially the thinking. So having anything that you can do that makes it so you don't have to come up with ideas is awesome.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I think that probably looks like all the questions, but again, if anyone else wants to connect with Sarah after this, or we can always help get you in touch with Sarah as well. And if you had any other questions about Bright Spot, you're welcome to reach out to us. And we're so excited that you could be here today. Thank you again, Sarah, for all of your expertise and wisdom. And we hope to see you all next Tuesday at Taylor Pinkston's interactive workshop for self-care. Thank you.